So rejection hurts no matter where it comes from. It could be from your career, personal life. I don't know. Anywhere that you get rejected, it hurts and it's hard not to take things personally. And when I say personally is that, when you don't get a job or you get rejected from, I don't know, a school, it's hard not to take things personally in the sense that something is wrong with you, that they didn't accept you. And it takes time to get over that. Now, from my personal experience, I have been rejected more times than I have been accepted in the past. When I applied for my LLM, I was rejected from all of the law schools that I had applied to. I only got into Osgood. And so I remember thinking to myself that the reason that I'm rejected is because there's something wrong with me and I'm unable to do things. And again, it could be different for different people, but it made me feel bad about myself at the end of the day. Moving on to my career, I have been rejected so many times. I've had so many interviews that I was rejected from. I always wanted to work in the government, and I had at least 4 to 5 interviews in the government, but I was never accepted. I tried to reach out to them again, saying, "Hey, I'm gonna let me know what I should do. I really want to work here," but I never got an opportunity. Whereas I would see friends or people that I knew of, they were getting these opportunities or they were working in the government and they would just get accepted. So it's not about like who's better or not, but it's just that sometimes some things don't work out for you and there's not much that you could do about it. So like I said, how do you deal with rejection as a foreign trained lawyer? Because you're actually new to the country, you're not getting what you want, and you're still sort of figuring out your new life. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to share some of my personal stories. I don't want to share too much, maybe 2 stories that I think I can share, and then I can go on and give you some tips on how do you deal with rejection and how do you sort of cope up with it and not take it personally. I will provide you with tips, but to be honest with you, it's easier said than done. I continue to struggle with this till date. Any kind of rejection, it could be any idea that I have presented or, anything else in life where I've been rejected, I still struggle with that. So a lot of what I'm going to say is something that I should also follow, and I try to, but it's easier said than done. So you can listen to it and try to implement it, but know that, it's a process and it will take time. So one time I was interviewed at a ministry in Ontario. So remember I told you that I was really interested in working for the government, and I had interviewed at the ministry, and after a couple of days I get a call from one of the people who were interviewing me, and she called me and she said, "Hey," I get a call and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, maybe I got the job." And she called me and she said, "Well, hey, Rabia, I just want to reach out to you personally and say your interview went really well. And I really wanted you to be I really want to hire you, but unfortunately we couldn't because, in ministry there are different votes. And so like if 5 people say they want to hire one candidate and then one person says they want to hire another, it's based on what majority people want." So she said that, majority people didn't want me. So we were not able to hire you. So I was rejected from that position. And I felt really sad because I really put in the work and I really wanted that position. And so I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong here? I think I did a good job. I interviewed really well. I had the skills and I'm not too sure what the hell is going on. So I called them and I asked like, "Hey, can I get some feedback?" And then she, one of the other lawyers there had given me feedback that I did not sell myself properly. I was only answering questions, but I didn't really sell my skill set. And she told me how to do that. And she sort of explained that to me. And then she told me that I could volunteer or go work with children because, that was something that could help me in getting a ministry job. And so I actually ended up doing that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go get it. And so I ended up working at a school just with children. And I was actually interviewed again for the same ministry after a couple of years. And I'm like, this time, I know what I need to do. I have the experience and I have everything. And then I interview again, and I interviewed with different people. Same thing, I think I did a good job, and then I did not get the position again. And so at this point, I'm just like, okay, well, why am I being rejected twice from the same position? And, at the end of the day, I'm glad did not get that position, to be honest with you, because I feel like I wouldn't enjoy, with a lot of stuff that I do now, I feel like I'm more creative and I like to do things, I like to explore more ideas. You can't do that at a government job. So I was rejected from the same position twice, and it felt bad. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I took it personally too, but now that I think back at it, I'm like, okay, maybe that was for the good, and I did not get it, so it's okay. But if I look back at it, at that time, it really impacted my confidence because, in my opinion, I had what I needed to have. But just sharing that, stuff like this can happen too. The other times when I was, this wasn't really a rejection, but I think that sometimes when employers interview you and then they don't respond at all, that's something that I had experienced a couple of times. So this was actually another research position, and I took the time, and this firm was like really far away from where I live, so I like took the bus, the train, God knows how I got there, and then I interviewed, and this person was like, yes, I want to hire you, blah, blah, like, you're hired. She said that to me, that you're hired. And then I go back home, and then I emailed her, thank you so much, like, when do I start? No response. Then I followed up with her a couple of days after, no response. Then I called her, she didn't pick up my call. And I'm just like, okay, this does not seem to be, like, it felt bad, at least if you want to hire me and you said that you're going to hire me and then you just don't respond at all, it obviously made me feel really bad about myself, or just generally it was just a weird situation to be in, because I'm thinking, well, I got a job, and then 1 week later I just don't get any replies. So stuff like that, again, can happen too, and I'm just sharing this with you just so that, you're able to see that you're not the only one getting rejected. I think that everyone has to go through this. In terms of my tips on how to deal with rejection, first is trust the process. I have yet to meet a person who has not been rejected in their life. Everyone that I speak to, everyone that I have had the opportunity to have a conversation with, they have their own story. They've been rejected so many times, and then they finally got something. So it is a process. If you're not getting rejected, you're lucky. And, you should really think that, you should really feel like you're lucky, because everyone that I know of has to go through this process. Rejection is part of, getting to where you need to be, right? And so what I suggest is that if you are rejected 5 to 10 times, then you will be accepted at least 2 to 3 times. That's the ratio that I live by, is that I have to get rejected 10 times for me to be accepted 2 times. And so then I don't take it personally anymore. At least I try to. So if you haven't been rejected 10 times, then you shouldn't really expect that something like an acceptance or you'll get an interview or something like that. And the reason why I frame it this way is because, again, this is a competitive market and everyone's talented. Everybody who comes to Canada wants to become a lawyer. They're all talented. People who go to Canadian law schools, they're all talented. So you are in this pool with really talented people, and sometimes it's hard. Everyone's different, and you have your own skill set, and you will find someone who really values that. The thing that I would recommend is that if they don't want you, you don't want them either, because it's now that I think about it, it's really hard to sort of think this way, because again, when you're in the process, you're unable to see far from it. You don't know where you're going to go. You don't know what you're going to be able to achieve. So you're short-sighted. But think of it like that. If an employer doesn't want you, you don't want them either, because what's the point of figuring it out later on if you're hired and then you realize, well, they're not treating you right, or this is not a good fit for you. So the times that I have been rejected, I've tried to tell myself, well, I think it's for the good. Maybe I wasn't meant to be there, or like I wouldn't have really succeeded in a workplace like that. Maybe I was also blindsided by, that I just need a job. The last thing that I've said a couple of times is that don't take rejections personally. I know some people and I know of friends who think that, well, I'm never going to be able to find something. Like, this is who I am. Rejection is a part of me. No. I know people who have been through this and are very successful, and they had a tough time and they sort of were able to come out of it. Hopefully you will too. But what I do suggest is don't take things personally. It is a competitive place to be in, sadly. And as much as I say it out loud right now, I think that I need to take my own advice, because sometimes I do take things personally too. I try not to, but I'm human and so are you. So just try not to take things personally, and, just do the work and see where it takes you. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that this was helpful, and let me know if you've been rejected in your career and how you were able to get out of it, so that other people can sort of read your comments and maybe not feel too bad about their situation.